and welcome back to this YouTube channel. So here we bring the next yet another session for the daily news analysis. You know, if you are the first time visitor of this channel, then I should tell you guys that we had started this initiative from 1st of July, and we are taking every day one class in which we discuss the daily current affairs in a best way possible. We had brought this for you guys to make it very simple for you, to make you understand these concepts in a very simple language, so that you would be very much, you know it would be very much easy for you to understand these things. मतलब इस पे कोई complicated language नहीं होगी. Reading a newspaper is not that easy for everybody. Usually for an average student, it would take you, at least if you are a beginner in this, it would take you at least 2 to 3 hours every day to understand the newspaper and then to make the notes out of it. और दूसरी बात, it is not, when you are the beginner and you had just started preparing for your exam, you don't have the proper idea what to read and what to leave. What usually guys do, they would read every bit of the paper and waste their lots of time. So that is not what you have to do. You have to do the smart analysis. You should know that what part we have to we have to read. For that, to make it easy for you guys, we are bringing these initiatives. We are bringing you these important articles from the newspaper, which would help you in understanding, in understanding the idea what you have to read. And in fact, this analysis would help you in saving lots of time, because I would not say you that don't read the newspaper. I won't go to that extent, but trust me, if you are not reading newspapers but just following these videos, and you have monthly magazines at your home which you study, that would be enough for you to crack any exam in this country. बाकी आपकी मर्जी है, either you want to read the newspapers or not, that is up to you. I'm not recommending anything in this, but I would definitely say from my personal experience, if you are following some YouTube channel in which you you study, you watch the videos related to the current news analysis, then that is enough for you. और दूसरी बात, which the most important thing which I have to discuss with you guys, that in the evening session we upload the quiz analysis video, in which we discuss at least 5 questions which are related to the current affairs, which we would discuss right now, and we would discuss 5 more questions which would be related to the previous year questions. And the idea behind that video is to give you to prepare you from the beginning for what you are preparing for. आपको एक आइडिया देना है कि कैसे पेपर्स आते हैं आपके एग्जाम में, how you can translate these analysis, these the new current news into the questions, and how the previous year questions would help you in eliminating many of the options in your exams. So without wasting any time, let's start our discussion. Here we have 6 articles which we need to know today. As it is Friday, there was not much in the newspaper which was important for us. So let us see what these articles say, and let us see what we have to study. First, we have to see the climate agenda of India, how it needs to be changed, and how India from the beginning was hesitant in towards the climate actions, and how right now it is proactive towards it. Then we have to talk about the invasive species. We have to talk about what are the invasive species, how they can impact the native species, and what are the necessary things which we need to take in consideration, and we will discuss few examples of the invasive species. Then the third most important article of today's discussion is about the computer literacy in India. We would see the gaps, from gender gap, from the generational gap to the rural urban gap, then to the state-wise gap. Then we have to discuss about the PLI schemes. We have to get the basic idea about it. Then we would discuss about the congestion in the sea routes, why the importers are opting for the air routes rather than sea route. Then we would discuss about the IUCN states of the gharials, a species of crocodiles. So let's move forward and discuss about it. About the climate change, climate agenda of India. First, you should know that from the time when we got the independence, the situation in the world was changing. World was moving towards the industries, where basically the textile industries, and for that the developed countries, which are the developed countries now, they had burned, in simple words, उन्होंने बहुत सारा coal जलाया, and they had polluted the environment to the next level. So during that time, India was had just got the independence, and we needed to develop our industries, we needed to develop our country. We had हमारा goal था कि अपनी economy को बेहतर करें. So for during that time we were very much hesitant towards the climate actions. उसी वक्त आ रहे थे कि अब ये करेंगे. Now the developed countries, now they started dictating the climate terms on the developing countries कि आप ऐसा मत करो, अगर आपने ये किया then you should pay that amount of money. So at that time India was very much hesitant in taking any action towards the climate. But now the action has changed, now the situation has changed. We had achieved 3 trillion economy, our economy is growing very fast. So things have changed to the extreme ends. Now from the hesitant towards the climate change, we are very much active towards it. We had initiated few of the projects, I would say few of the alliances towards the climate change. For example, International Solar Alliance, which we initiated with the France for the solar hub, मतलब जहाँ पे surplus solar energy to collaborate that solar energy. Then we have CDRI, which is a disaster risk reduction, in which we would give the awareness about disasters. So we would try to bring everybody together in it, so that हम उनको aware करें कि कब disaster आ रहा है, what would be the impact of it, what time it may come, or how to cope away from it. Then we had brought a global biofuel alliance from the G20. In it we are discussing about the ethanol blending to reach the 20% ethanol blending. So we are very much proactive in it. Now we are very much proactive in climate agenda. So what is तो अब author यहाँ पे क्या कहना चाहता है, there is a need for the change of the climate agenda of India. तो यहाँ पे एक need है, एक change की ज़रूरत है इंडिया के लिए कि उनका agenda change होना चाहिए. So he gives 3 ideas behind it. They are as go higher, go wider, and go deeper. In go higher, it basically talks about India's leadership in climate action. India has to go higher level of leadership उनको, और मतलब they have to include more countries in it. They have to show, they have to give more ideas regarding the climate actions. For example, जैसे कि हमने देखा International Solar Alliance, in which जो surplus solar energy जिन countries में they try to bring these countries together to collaborate together. तो इसी तरह they have to show the higher level of leadership in it. In go wider, by for example in जो इस वक्त इंडिया का गोल है नेट जीरो एमिशन का, it is 2070. So India has to communicate better, adopt and expand sectorial goals, wider approach in economy. इंडिया को मतलब कि wider approach एक economy का देना है कि they have to adopt and expand to the sectorial goals, or they have to communicate better with the people or with the world, so that they can go wider in their approach. Then there is the third term which the author mentions here. It is go deeper. It talks actually basically about the federalism. They should have the basic understanding with the states, how they have to deal with the climate agendas, and they have to how the states have to play their role, and this is very important for India to do it. So these are the changes in the agenda which the author talks about. So let's recap this article, what we discussed about in it. तो पहली बात हमने डिस्कस किया कि how India was very hesitant in climate actions, and now how it has become the active partners, how it brought many ideas, for example ISI, CDR, a Global Fuel Alliance, how now it talks about the India's agenda to be changed. India has to evolve to the next level of leadership. India has to communicate better with the countries. They have to adopt and expand sectorial goals. Or फिर it talks about how it has to discuss with the states, and how they have to states Indian states have to collaborate together so that they can frame the better agenda of the climate change, or they can have the better impact on the climate. So this was about the climate agenda of India. Now moving towards the next topic of today's discussion, it is about the invasive species. Why this is in news? Because we had discussed about certain worms coming from Australia. So they were destroyed at the Delhi airport. So as they were suspect, it was the suspicion that they are the invasive species. They could destroy the native species of the country, and they could destroy the native ecosystem. So what is the invasive species? We should know about that. What is this invasive species? If we, by the definition, we should know that any species which is non-native and non-indigenous is an invasive. It is non-native and non-indigenous, and it reproduces at very high speed and has the ability to destroy the native species. So that is called the invasive species. For if we how do they come, वो कैसे, how these invasive species come, जो हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया का सीन देखा, वो worms coming from the Australia, it was to to destroy the Indian ecosystem. But there are many other ways by which these invasive species may come to the country. For example, traveling and luggage. By traveling and luggage, these invasive species come, मतलब कि अगर bags में लगे होते these worms or something, so by that it can come to the another country. Then by ships and boats, मतलब कि ships or boats, it is said that it is the highest source of the invasive species. इसमें क्या होता है कि for example India to किसी country, किसी दूसरी country में या दूसरे कॉन्टिनेंट में कोई बोट जा रही है, तो यूजुअली बोट के नीचे वाले हिस्से में कुछ पानी रहता है जिसको इंडिया में वो भरते हैं टू बैलेंस द शिप. और जब वो दूसरी कंट्री में जाता है तो दे रिफिल इट, पहले वो फेंकेंगे फिर नए सिरे से भरेंगे. सो बाय दैट प्रोसेस दीज इन्वेसिव स्पीशीज में ट्रांसफर फ्रॉम वन कंट्री टू द अनदर कंट्री. And there are another ways. For example, by migration of species, they migrate due to there are some climate change in their native environment, so they go to the to the different environments and adopt there and destroy the native species there. And the other way of the invasive species is the introduction as pests or pest control. This has been tried many times in different countries. They bring, if they want to control the pests, so they bring the invasive species to control them, but unfortunately they are not able to control the invasive species because they reproduce at the higher rate and destroy the native species. Then well, few examples of it are onion weed and tomato leaf miner. These are some examples of the invasive species. So let's recap this article one more time. What we discussed about it, why it was in news, because from Australia एक मतलब एक लगेज पकड़ा गया था. At least 13 huge carriers were found out which tried to sabotage, or we can say destroy the Indian native species. उसमें एक worms पाए गए थे. So it was thought that they can destroy the native species, and they were destroyed at the Delhi airport itself. So this news led us to the invasive species. What are the invasive species? So in invasive species we discussed about they are the species which are non-native. दूसरी बात, non-indigenous is an invasive species and they reproduce at the higher rate and they can destroy the native species. Or it competes with the ecosystem in which they get in. और दूसरी बात हमने how do they come to the different countries, or how do they come to the ecosystem? They travel through luggage. by people, जब लोग एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाते हैं तो वो लग जाते हैं लगेज के साथ, तो उसकी वजह से वो आते. दूसरा by ships and boats which we discussed about. Then through migration, then through they escape from the due to the climate change, and introduction as pests or pest control. Examples हमने इसमें देखे, for example onion weed देखा और tomato leaf mineral देखा और etc. So I hope this much is enough about the invasive species, and I hope the idea behind this is to give you the idea. इसके मतलब इस वीडियो का आइडिया है कि आपको एक बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग मिले और जो हाउ मतलब कि कैसे आपको न्यूज़पेपर से मतलब निकालना है, व्हाट यू हैव टू रीड फ्रॉम देम. Now moving towards the next topic of today's discussion, it talks about the computer literacy in India. You know, right now we are living in a time where we literally can't imagine our economy or our lives working without the knowledge of the computer in any way. For example, चाहे हम mobile use करें, from the uh, lower generations to the highest, मतलब कि from the lower ages to the highest ages, everybody is dependent on computer in one way or the another way. For example, our finances are dependent on it, our healthcare is dependent on it, our enjoyment is dependent on it, our education is dependent upon it. So there is a huge need of the computer literacy when you are totally dependent on it, though computer literacy is the need of the time. But unfortunately, the computer literacy in India has something different to say. So let us discuss what does it say. Here, the data given by NSS from we have to compare. We have two datas which are given by NSS from we have to compare them from 2017 and 2021. In 2021, our computer literacy is 24.7%. This is the worst which we can have. Only 24.7% of the people above 15 age are able have the proper knowledge about the computer literacy. So this gives you us the idea how far behind we are in the digital networking or in the digital universe or in the digital world right now. हम कितना पीछे है from other developed countries, and we are competing with China, we are competing with USA, and let's see where we are. और जो ये कंप्यूटर लिटरेसी है, it has मतलब कि this 24.7%, it is not 24.7% all over the country. So there is a divide in it. Let us see what is the divide. There is a gender divide, there is urban rural divide, and there is state wise divide. For example, fundamental अगर gender divide का हम देखेंगे, that is very much but natural. हम देखेंगे the people above 60 years, they are at the age level which when they were not introduced to the computer, so उनका कम knowledge होना, it is very much understood. So that's not the problem, but the problem is कि जो हमारा age group from 20 to 29 या 30 तक है, उसमें जो हमें ये मिल रहा है कि computer illiteracy का, that is very much bad news for us. For example, हम देखेंगे for rural India and urban India. In 2017, for rural India, it was 11% computer literacy. For urban, it was 34%. So there is huge difference here. In 2021, in a rural area, it has increased to 18% now, and in urban areas, it is 39%. So there is a huge divide in rural and urban India. मतलब कि फिर हम देखेंगे कंसेप्ट ऑफ जनरेशनल इफेक्ट. फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर हम कंप्यूटर लिटरेसी को देखेंगे, इसका एक रिलेशनशिप है जनरेशन के साथ. जितना कंप्यूटर लिटरेसी इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द age of the person. For example, the older he is, he would have lesser knowledge of the computer, because the computer was something which was developed which developed मतलब which reached to its highest level. It is now मतलब जो ये journey थी computer knowledge की, it developed very late. So we can understand that जो age gap होगा, जो the people who are aged, who are above 50 years, they would have very less knowledge about computers. We have the data. For example, for 20 to 24 years, they are their knowledge, their literacy about the computers is 45%, and for the people who are above 60, they have 4% knowledge. Then we have generation effect in it. 20 to 29 years are looking for फॉर एग्जांपल हम अगर देखेंगे जो हमारा एम्प्लॉयमेंट का सीन है, वो 20 से 29 साल तक के लोग जो है वो दे आर वो मतलब वो सी करते हैं कि कहीं से हमें जॉब मिले, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली देयर लिटरेसी अबाउट द कंप्यूटर इज 34% ओनली. सो हम देखेंगे कि मतलब कि जो रीजन ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट इन इंडिया राइट नाउ जो हमें चल रहा है, this is one of the reason that we are not very well, the youth in our country is not that much educated in the computers, because the mostly right now the economy is very much digital. And जो आप मतलब कि आप जो भी करें, for example we are making right now this video, so this depends upon the, if you have the knowledge of the computer then only you can make such things. उसी तरह के अगर आप कोई जॉब चाहते हो, then you need to have the knowledge, because we don't have the knowledge about computers we are not able to get the jobs, and this leads to the unemployment in the country. अगर हम फिर देखेंगे स्टेट वाइज जो कंप्यूटर लिटरेसी का सीन क्या, व्हाट इज द सीन बिहाइंड, हाउ डज इट वर्क, किस मतलब स्टेट वाइज क्या सीन है, अगर हम देखा जाएगा फॉर 20 to 29 ईयर्स ओल्ड जो यूथ है उनका देखेंगे, फॉर केरला इट इज़ द हाईएस्ट 72% from the Kerala are computer literate, so they know the computer very well. For Assam it is only 17%, for Bihar it is 20%, for UP it is 22%, for Jharkhand it is 21%, for Orissa it is 25%, for Rajasthan it is 27%, for Chandigarh it is 28, Chhattisgarh it is 28%. So you would see the divide in states. For the state like Kerala it is 72%, and for states like Bihar, UP, Jharkhand, Assam, Orissa it is between 17% to 25% or 28%. So you could see that there is disparity in the state itself. So what is the basic conclusion we get from it? The basic conclusion we get from it that our overall number or percentage is low about the computer literacy, it is only 24%. So the second conclusion which we get, there is a divides from the regional divide to age divide to the urban and rural divides. And also divides are, we should know that divides are created by these systematic issues. What is the reason behind this? Mostly the reason behind is that at the school level or the college level or university level, we lack the infrastructure, or if we have the infrastructure, we lack the trained teachers which would translate this information to the youth. मुझे अपनी बात याद आ रही है, when I was in 5th class, it was the first time when the computers came to our school. And उस वक्त क्या होता था, we had हमें बुक्स दी जाती थी, we have to study those books, and मतलब कि hardly हमें कभी लैब में लिया जाता था. So we in our country we lack the practical knowledge, how to translate the theory into practical. That is what we lack. हमें बुक्स दी जाती थी, then we have to give the exam. हमें पता ही नहीं होता था कि what we are studying, what we are doing with this. We just have to write the answers to the questions in the exam to get the pass marks. So this is what we lack. We lack the practical knowledge, we lack the infrastructure, we lack the skilled person. So जो ये मतलब कि इसकी वजह से क्या हुआ, what is the impact of it? इसका इम्पैक्ट जो रहेगा वो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रहेगा, इसके हेल्थ केयर में प्रॉब्लम्स आएगी, मतलब कि एक यूथ को मतलब एंड देयर इज फाइनेंशियल एक्सक्लूजन फॉर द यूथ अगर उसको ये नॉलेज नहीं पता होंगी. सो व्हाट इज द वे फॉरवर्ड फॉर इट? आपको क्या लगता है, व्हाट वुड बी द वे फॉरवर्ड फॉर इट? द वे फॉरवर्ड इज एक मुझे जो हाईएस्ट लग रहा है कि एक प्राइमरी और सेकेंडरी स्कूल लेवल में ये computers लाया जाए. This knowledge should be given very properly to the people there. और दूसरी बात, this regional urban schemes should be brought in which they should translate the ideas to the people, and regional issues should be studied, and they should ask the states what do you need, how we can, the center should ask the states what do they need and how center can help them. So this is how this issue can be solved. If you have your ideas, you can write them. The basic idea behind this is to deliver the much information to you and save your time. Preparing for UPSC is not that easy. You need lot of patience, you need lot of hard work, and you need luck too. So our aim is to help you in one way. किस्मत तो आपकी खुद की है. Patience is something which you have to learn, or that is inherited in you. But one thing we can do, we can help you in smart studies. Or हमने जो part उठाया है, that is the current affairs and how to translate them in questions. So एक part, we are very much thankful to us that we are able to provide you this thing. Now moving to the next article, it talks about the PLI schemes. So about PLI scheme, we don't have to discuss much. We have to get the basic idea about it. I assume that everybody here would had little knowledge or more about the production linked incentive schemes. So what is the purpose of the production linked incentive schemes? Its purpose is to increase the domestic production, to increase the import substitution, and to promote the exports. This is the main goal of the PLI schemes. These are the cashback schemes. The government gives the company certain target for 5 years. If the company does the target, then the certain percentage is given them to them as the incentive. In this PLI schemes, there is a base year amount is created. So उस amount के basis पे उनको these targets are given and these incentives are given. Now we should know few of the sectors which are giving the in which PLI schemes are given. For example, we have advanced chemistry, we have electronics. पहले सिर्फ electronics में दिया जाता था PLI scheme. Now they had widened its scope. They are giving it in advanced chemistry, in electronics, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, textile products, and other industries. About now let's recap few of the points in it. It is the production linked incentive schemes to help in increasing domestic production, import substitution, and promote exports. It is a cashback scheme. Government gives certain targets for 5 years. If the company does the targets in a proper way, certain percentage is given to them as the incentive. Here the base year amount is created. According to that, the incentives are given and the targets are given. Sectors in which the PLIs have been pushed, they are advanced. For example, advanced chemistry, we have electronics, we have automobiles, we have pharmaceuticals, we have textile production, and others. Then the another news which was about the importers are choosing air flights rather than the sea route. What is the reason? Because of the congestion in the sea routes. So उसकी वजह से they are choosing the much costlier, जो costly है उनके लिए वो route choose करते हैं. Coming to the last article of today's discussion, gharial crocodiles. They had they are not only found in Assam, they are found in Uttar Pradesh, in the Ganges rivers, in the Ganges river system. For example, Girwa in Uttar Pradesh, Son in Madhya Pradesh, Ram Ganga Uttarakhand, Gandak Bihar, Chambal Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan, and Mahanadi Orissa. So they are found in this region. One thing which we have to know about it is IUCN status. Its IUCN status is the critically endangered. So why it was in news? Because the female gharial was found in Indian rivers, and it is said that they need a male gharial for the mate, otherwise they would they would get wiped out from the country. Right now globally we have 650 gharials. 650 gharials are found there in the world, and we should know its IUCN status is critically endangered. So this was about today's discussion. So I'm sorry if any outside voice was there. Sorry for that. But let's recap the articles which we discussed today. Let's get the basic idea from them, and let's end today's discussion. The first thing which we discussed about it was about the climate agenda, how India needs to transform its agenda, how India was first the India as a nation was very hesitant towards the climate agenda, and now how it is very much proactive, how it has brought many initiatives, for example ISI, CDRI, and Global Fuel Alliance, and what India needs to do, for example go higher, go wider, or go deeper, and we discussed in it. Then we discussed about the computer literacy in India, how does it impact the economy of the country, how does it impact the employability of the people in the India, and we discussed about the digital, about this divide in the country, for example rural to urban. Then we discussed about the age divide, for example how it is computer literacy, it has relation with how it is inversely proportional to the age, as how if the person is older, his मतलब कि उसका knowledge about computer would be less. Then we discussed about the state wise divide in the computer knowledge. Then after that we discussed about the invasive species. We discussed about certain worms coming from Australia which were destroyed at Delhi airport. We discussed about the features of the invasive species. Then we discussed about the production linked incentive scheme. We discussed in it how how to what are the features of the PLIs and what they are, in which sectors they are given. Then after that we discussed about the change in the route for the importers from sea to the air due to the congestion in the sea. We discussed, then at the end we discussed about the gharial crocodiles. So I hope this video would help you in preparing for your exam. I hope the information given in here is would be very much useful for you guys. Thank you for staying with me. Thanks for watching these videos. I don't know how many of you will watch. Please, if you will watch these videos, do subscribe to my channel. That will motivate me to make more videos and help me in you know in helping you. Thank you very much.